Welcome this morning, Monday morning, January 27th, 2025. The Georgia Hour. This is the Georgia Hour with BKP. We appreciate everyone tuning in and talking about it and sending us messages every day for 1 hour, approximately 1 hour. Diane, when we started the Georgia Hour and we talked about it, I told Diane we were going to do, I said, Diane, we're going to do 3 20-minute segments, or 3 18-minute segments. So we're going to take a break about 10:16, 10:35, and then close, right? She looked at me and she said, okay, and you're going to do that? Yes. So we will achieve one of these days very soon, I promise. Discipline will overcome me, and I will get the Georgia Hour started at 10 and get 3 segments, hopefully a day is my goal. I promise I'm not going to stop. So, in the Georgia Hour, anything and everything in Georgia. So if you send, let's get this started. We are in the Georgia legislative session is taking place right now. Last week, as you well know, in Georgia, we've had a cold snap in North Georgia. Many of us are trying to figure out how to pay our electric bill. That'd be me. But we've had a cold snap in Georgia. Last week, we were talking about 5 and 6 degrees in the morning. Then we had a snowstorm in North Georgia that basically Diane knows all too well. We couldn't basically get out of the house for a week around here. Then we had a snowstorm in South Georgia. You guys sent pictures of snow on the beach. Wow, that was so neat. Snow on the beach. In South Georgia, all the way down into Florida. And what I'm getting at is last week, the Georgia legislative session should have been in budget. Everything should have been closed off. Mainly all budget committees working last week. All of the committees creating their budget. That has shifted into this week. So this week, what should have been completed last week in the Georgia legislative session, there's work going on this week in the budget. Now, what happens during the budget? Everyone shows up, and this is where I need your help out there. You can look this up, send it to me, find out, get on board. We need people to help us here. This is what's taking place. All of your constitutional offices, your board of regents, that means your state school system, all of the school systems, the board of regents, the K through 12, the state board of education, Richard Wood, the school superintendent, Department of Agriculture, Secretary of State, Attorney General's office, every agency, DFACS, whatever. Everyone's coming in and presenting their requested budgets. Everyone. And telling you what they need, if they need to hire more people or they need to open more offices, child protective services. Do they need, you're going to put more money into that? This year, there's a lot of discussion around our jails in Georgia, our prisons, and our prison system in Georgia. But everybody gets to come in and give their presentation to their committee, right? You have all the committees that they are under on a presentation of their budget and what they request. So that's happening this week as we speak. The Secretary of State has a budget liaison in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger. The team puts together what their requests are. And we need to talk about that. And I want to dig into that tomorrow pretty deep. I want to talk to a couple people to see if they've heard anything. If you've heard what the budget request is from the Secretary of State, let us know, Brad Raffensperger. If not, let's find out what the request of the budget is or what they're requesting. Now, I have not watched it, and I think some of you may pay attention to it. You can watch under the Georgia General Assembly. You can watch all of these budget committees and the presentation. So I don't know when the Secretary of State, but if you can find it, you can actually watch the presentation on what they are asking for this year. So moving right along, I said earlier in the show, I asked people, and if you don't know me by now, Diane, give me number 64. I ask people when they call me up, they tell me certain things. I say, okay, what can you accomplish? What can we solve? What can we accomplish? All right. We do a press conference. We do a rally. I see rallies all the time. I see people getting whipped up into a frenzy. And I will say to people all the time, what did we solve? Did anything come to light? Anything new? What did we accomplish? One night I was on a Zoom meeting not long ago, and somebody asked me, somebody spoke, and somebody called me and said, what did you think about what they said today? And I knew this person didn't want to hear this, but I said I didn't learn anything new. I learned absolutely nothing new. It just came from a different person, but they told me the same thing. I've learned nothing new. So, moving right along. Just wanted to put that up there. Would love for you to join us at that event here in the next couple of weeks. So, most of America, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Most of America watched this right here, 101. And this is Keith Williams, and not to take up too much of our time today, but as you well know, there was a joint session in the Georgia State House that Jon Burns, Speaker of the House, barred state senator from the 53rd District, Colton Moore, said he wasn't allowed to come in. And that happened last year. Last March, that happened. 2024. He barred him from entering the floor of the House. They had a joint session for Governor Brian Kemp's State of the State address. State Senator Colton Moore attempted to enter the chamber, and as you can see, he was wrestled to the floor and thrown to the floor by Keith Williams, chief counsel of Jon Burns, the Georgia Speaker of the House. Now, Colton Moore is not one to shy away from some controversy. And I don't want to take an hour to go over State Senator Colton Moore, which I've always supported the senator. I always have. He knows that. He knows that I've always supported him. But when you elect someone, you want them to have, you want them to be able to be successful based for you. You want someone that could get legislation to the floor. You want someone that could accomplish things. You don't want someone that is ineffective. You don't want that. You want someone that could really bring legislation, fight the good battle for the constituents, and so forth. Now, because of Colton Moore's personal strength that he has, and I know this gentleman for quite some time, and I videoed and I went over to when he ran for state senate. He ran against a guy by the name of Henry, and Henry was is it Walker County? What was the county? But anyhow, Henry was a county commissioner. He was the chairman of this county, and he was a shoo-in. He was supposed to be the guy, just the biggest jackass I ever met. I went to the debate, and Colton Moore, running for Senate, did an amazing job. I highlighted. We have the tape. I did a highlight reel of the debate, and Colton Moore ended up winning the state Senate seat. Very strong, passionate, conservative, constitutionalist. If it's not constitutional, he doesn't vote for it. He'll tell you how he feels. So he doesn't get a lot of bills to the floor. In fact, I don't know as a state senator if any bill he's worked on, he's a member of the Freedom Caucus, the Georgia State Freedom Caucus. I don't know if he has ever worked on a bill that's been passed. I don't know if he's ever put a bill on the floor that was passed in the Senate, went to the House, got passed, came back, went to the governor's office, and he got to stand next to the governor. Now, let me tell you how it works. This is where they really despise me, your host, because I tell you how it works in Georgia. So if you're the one that gets a bill, if you're the chosen one, and you have abided by the lobbyist requirements, yes, and if you've abided by the kings and the queens, and if you've gone to the castle for all the proper meals and the proper, and if you've done your court jester, is that what it's called? Whatever. If you've done your little comedy routine in front of the king and queen on the throne, this is not a joke. This is Georgia, folks. I am being very serious. I'm not horsing around. And if you went in and kissed all the rings necessary, then your bill possibly could get out of committee and be voted on. It could possibly, if the governor says, I like it, it could possibly go to the governor's desk to be signed. Now, when that happens, you could be present for the signing of the bill. Yes, there's the signing of your bill, and the governor and the first lady, because Marty gets to go all the time. We have 2 governors in Georgia. And you get to stand there around the desk, and he is proud to sign your bill, and you get to go back home to your district and say, look at this, Brian Kemp signed my bill. It doesn't mean jack squat. It's not constitutional. It did really nothing for you, but it's on my resume. The governor recognized me and signed a bill. Colton Moore doesn't have any of those. He doesn't have any of those bills to take back to the 53rd district. So what good is he? I mean, is he useless? I mean, should the people of the 53rd district look for somebody that can get legislation to the floor? Look for a team player. That's what they always say, a team player under the gold dome. Should they not look for somebody that gets along with others? Well, in fact, they kicked Colton Moore out of. Colton Moore stood up to the governor, stood up to the Attorney General, Chris Carr, even to the likeness or the liking or the appreciation from President Donald J. Trump about Fani Willis. Remember, Brian Kemp gave the speech from his desk in the office, the press conference. I haven't found anything Fani Willis has done wrong. Remember that? Brian Kemp did that. Colton Moore brought that up. Then he got mad at his colleagues for not getting on board with telling Brian Kemp, hey, you got to investigate her. You got to remove her. Fonnie Willis. Now, there's a lot more details that go to that. People say, well, you're glossing over he did this and you're glossing over he did that. I get it. There's a lot more details, okay? But he brought it to the attention so much that the Georgia State Republican Senate Caucus removed him. He's not a member of their caucus. So let me ask you a question. So you got a guy from the 53rd District, can't get a bill on the floor, can't get one sponsored, can't get one from the Senate over to the House, because Jon Burns has probably sent word, just my opinion, don't you dare send a Colton Moore bill over to the State House for us to look at. He can't get a bill for his constituents to the governor's desk. He's not even a member of their caucus. What good is the guy? I said last week, I said last week, because I like the guy. You know me, right? You're new. You're not new here. You know me. I mean, I would be, boom. I would tell you point blank. But I like the guy. All right. And I've heard all the speeches of, he can't get things done. He's ineffective. The most ineffective politician in Atlanta. Can't get nothing done. Might as well not even show up. I've heard all that. So last week I said to myself, and I didn't even have a cheap cigar. It's been too cold. But I said, let's analyze where we're at with Colton Moore. Let's analyze, are we accomplishing something? Are we resolving something? So, because I watched everything go down. Colton Moore, by having the guts and courage to walk up to that door and say, I'm going inside, has brought it full circle to hopefully number 99. We can get this guy removed. We can get him removed. Jon Burns, Speaker of the House. Now, the guy he's tussling, we'll call it tussling with, is Keith Williams. Now, give me number 100. This is the guy here. He claims to be the lead counsel for the Speaker's House, and he actually should be arrested. He should be arrested for handling Colton Moore this way. Now, Colton Moore, the Georgia State Patrol did eventually arrest him on a misdemeanor charge, but if Colton Moore would have made an effort to go through those doors and they would have said you can't go through those doors, the Georgia State Patrol would have had the authority to physically remove him and arrest him, but not Keith Williams. So Jon Burns, I built all this up, and I'm going to give you a couple reasons why, and we're going to talk about the Georgia GOP and the convention that's coming up. But this is Jon Burns, 99. He must resign immediately. And without Colton Moore, highlighting why this guy should resign would generally just be he should resign. Take a break. We'll wrap up the second half of the Georgia Hour right after these messages.